Good morning, everyone. My name's Alan Schoolcraft. I'm a state representative in Austin, and I've been asked this morning to introduce the general, but probably not a lot of introduction necessary. I want to start off by saying thank you all for being here this morning. Especially thank you to VFW Post 4676 for y'all's hospitality. This is turning into a favorite venue for us, so this is great. You know, serving in the legislature, we pass laws and we address issues, but it's been such a wonderful feeling over the years knowing that we have someone holding our backs and covering our backs when what we try to do is challenged in court. There's been no one who's been a stronger fighter on behalf of the people of Texas to defend our values and the things we believe in than Attorney General Paxton. I hate to see him leaving that position, but I can't tell you how thrilled I am to think of him in Washington representing us. There's so many critical issues that we can't deal with from the state level. We have to have good representation in Washington. He's the one who will do it. He will be our fighter. One of the biggest issues we're facing from a geopolitical perspective is China. I'm afraid that Americans are not paying enough attention to what's going on in China, the threat that they pose on all aspects, you know, whether it's cybersecurity, military threats, etc. Attorney General Paxton is totally focused on that issue along with so many others. I am very excited that he's here this morning to talk to us about his proposals on that and some of the other big issues that we're facing. So, Attorney General Paxton, we're looking forward to hearing your great words. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Was really proud to endorse him when he ran the first time. He's done an amazing job, and it's certainly always great to be here in San Antonio. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank the men and women of the Post for having us this morning. I'm grateful for your hospitality. To the men and women of the veterans of foreign wars, and to everyone who has served this country in uniform, we are forever thankful for your service. I was born on an Air Force base in Minot, North Dakota. Some of you probably been there, where my father flew B-52s. I did not learn about service in a classroom. I learned it from watching my father put on a uniform every single day. For part of my childhood, I grew up in a white trailer parked outside of an Air Force base, with no air conditioning, I might add. We moved around a lot, as most military families do, to Florida, New York, North Carolina, California, Oklahoma, literally all over the place. Service to this country is not just a talking point in my family. It's all I knew growing up. I learned more than words can describe in that trailer. My father defended this country proudly and counted every dollar. We counted every dollar because it wasn't always easy getting by. So when somebody tells me a young couple cannot afford a home, or that a veteran is choosing between groceries and his electric bill, or that it feels impossible to get ahead, I hear you. Times are hard and families are struggling in this state and in this country. That's why I'm fighting to lower costs in everything from housing to healthcare. That's why I'm fighting to put more money in your pocket and lower your taxes. That's why I'm fighting to change Washington. And it's why I'm fighting to make life more affordable for you. Washington has made it harder than ever to get ahead. That's why I've unveiled my Protecting the Texas Promise agenda. I'm fighting to restore the American dream where every Texan can buy a home, raise a family, and live a healthy life without struggling to make ends meet. And you cannot talk about the cost of living across Texas without talking about the skyrocketing costs of healthcare and hospital closures in our state. Texas leads the nation in rural hospital closures. And when a rural hospital closes, the nearest emergency room becomes an hour away. And for a rancher having a heart attack, or a young mother giving or going into labor at 2 in the morning, an hour is not just an inconvenience. It could make the difference between life and death. No Texan should have to drive 90 miles to see a doctor. So while Democrats try to shut down rural hospitals to pay for their radical agenda, I will defend rural hospitals and healthcare, always. Whether it's a lack of affordability rising healthcare costs, or democratic socialism, there are so many issues in our nation that need to be addressed. But there's one in particular I want to talk about today, and Alan already sort of mentioned it. A few hundred yards from where we're standing, just across the road, as you all know, is Joint Base San Antonio Randolph. This is where our nation trains its airmen and Space Force guardians, and it's home to thousands of service members and their families. And around 150 miles west is Laughlin Air Force Base, the base that trains more Air Force pilots than any other in the country. But there's a problem. In the county next to Laughlin, a Chinese billionaire, a communist and veteran of the People's Liberation Army, bought over 100,000 acres. This is right next to where American pilots train every single day. This is not a coincidence. It is a calculated decision made by somebody in Beijing. The Chinese Communist Party is not just a competitor or a rival. It is the single greatest threat our country faces on the global stage. They are not trying to beat America, they're trying to replace it. And here is the part that most people miss. Right now, they're not coming for this country with their army. They're coming with a checkbook. They buy the land, they buy the ports, they buy the technology, they buy the university research, they buy influence in places most people never think to look. And they do it so slow that nobody notices. Every acre they buy on purpose. So what do we do about it? When Beijing showed up in Texas, I fought back. I took the Chinese Communist Party to court and we won. 9 times in 18 months. I sued TP-Link because Chinese state-sponsored hackers were using its devices to get into American networks. I sued Anzu Robotics, which was rebranding Chinese drones so they could slip past the American blacklist. And I sued Lorex, a baby monitoring company using components from a Chinese military contractor and then selling them to Texas parents who just wanted to watch their kids sleep. I opened the first state investigation in America into DeepSeek, because DeepSeek is not a chat box, but it is a collection tool. And it's not only what they sell us, it's what they embed in what they sell us. I didn't just file lawsuits against the Chinese Communist Party, we beat them. Because under my watch, we are going to stop Communist China. Even when it's not popular, I'm always going to stand up for Texas first. And when it comes to protecting our land, I've stopped at nothing to prevent the Chinese from buying in Texas. The CCP can buy a lot of things in this world, but they can't buy Texas. We're not going to let them. In 2025, thankfully, the Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 17. It is the strongest law of its kind in the United States. The government of China cannot buy Texas land. They cannot buy our farmland. They cannot buy our commercial property, cannot buy our minerals, and they cannot buy one drop of water. When radicals tried to let the Chinese steal our land, I fought back and won. My office defended it. The law is standing today because I fought and Texas won. Every single person in this room should know that the law would never have gone into effect if it were up to radicals like James Talarico. When Senate Bill 17 came to the floor, the Texas House, James Talarico voted no. Now I want you to understand exactly what he voted against. James Talarico voted against a law that stops the government of China, our greatest geopolitical adversary, from stealing Texas land next to our military bases, our farms, and our families. And it was not a one-time thing for him. Senate Bill 667 stopped Texas from sending your tax dollars to companies controlled by the Communist Party. He voted no on that too. While Texans are struggling to make ends meet, Talarico voted to let your taxpayer dollars go to Chinese companies. Think about that for a second. Texans are choosing between the grocery bill and the electric bill right now. And James Talarico voted to take their taxpayer dollars and then put them in the pockets of the Chinese Communist Party. That's a reality. That's not just a policy disagreement. It calls into question whose side you're on. 8 years as a politician, James Talarico didn't vote against China even once. He just voted against us in Texas. 8 years in Austin, Talarico did not make your life more affordable. He refused to keep the Chinese Communist Party off Texas soil. You cannot be soft on China and serious about Texas or our national security. James Talarico's record is not just radical, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to Texas, it's dangerous to this country. He had the chance to keep a hostile foreign government off of Texas soil, and he said no, they can come. Now he would like a promotion to the United States Senate, where the stakes get even higher, where the votes are about Taiwan, about semiconductors, about aircraft carriers, about our national security. James Talarico sold Texas out to China. Texas was sold out. Farmers were sold out. Our service members were sold out. I don't think James Talarico was confused. I think this is exactly who he is. Let me leave you with this. All the brave men and women in this room were willing to sacrifice their life for this country, just as my father was and just as my daughter was. Because they believe in our country, they believe in our people, they believe in the American dream, and that it's worth fighting for. Not James Talarico. James Talarico thinks Texas is for sale to the Chinese Communist Party. He said it with his votes. It couldn't be more different. I couldn't be more different. Our farmland belongs to us. Our service members deserve to be protected. Our jobs belong in Texas. Our hospitals must stay open. Every Texan ought to be able to afford to live in the state they love. And the ground around our bases should always be owned by Americans. This is exactly what I'm fighting for. Unlike James Talarico, I will always stand up to China, and we will never stop fighting them, as long as they are our enemy. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm so grateful for our service men and women who defend this country. And God bless our great state. Let's continue to fight for it. And God bless this great country, the United States of America. Thank you all for having me today.